Yeah. Okay, hello everyone. For anyone we didn't talk to today, we're here today to represent Airspace. We're one of Ireland's first student rocketry teams. We build, test and design rockets as well as other avionics and aerospace projects. We're one of the first in Ireland, and we're an intercollegiate group as well, which means we represent colleges from all across Ireland, although admittedly at the moment we are mostly Dublin focused with members from TCD and TUD and UCD. Our main goal at the moment is the EUROC project, which is a European rocketry competition hosted in Portugal every year. This here is one of our test rockets. It's a kit rocket bought from online. We didn't design or make this ourselves, but this is part of our validation processes to ensure that our avionics and our recovery systems will be working properly by the time we get to competition in October this coming year. As an organization, we aim to give people real-world experience with aerospace and avionics projects. At the moment, there is only one level 8 course in the country in Carlow IT for aerospace engineering, and we feel like that Ireland is poised to become an absolute global leader in the aerospace and space technology sectors. So we're trying to give people as much hands-on, real-world experience with these kinds of projects so that in the coming years we can be a useful pool of talent for all the lovely companies that are going to come sprouting up out of Ireland and already are with places like Railtrain Engineering. I'll hand off now to our avionics lead Hugo, who is much more well versed in Python than I am, and he'll tell you why we're here.
Hello, so I'm Hugo, the lead of the avionics department, and our role on Airspace is to be in charge of everything that's electronics, software, telemetry, and data logging related. So I have here one of our flight computers. The purpose of it is to activate our recovery system at apogee and at also 450 meters above the ground to make sure our rocket returns safely. It records data such as our maximum altitude, our velocity, and many other data points so we can review our flights afterwards and make better decisions for future missions. This is one of 2 flight computers. This one is commercial, and we plan to make our own flight computer to fulfill more goals such as thrust vector control and more advanced control algorithms. It's accompanied with the ground station, which allows us to receive that data in real time and locate the rocket after touchdown. I'll also pass you on to Guru, who's into the structure department, as well as the lead of the EUROC rocketry competition, which is our main motivation this coming year.
Hi, so I'm just here to talk about what the near future of airspace is. So as Kyle said, who's our director of engineering, we'll be launching this rocket around January, so this will be our first test flight. And the way it works is that it's a single recovery system, so that means it will only launch a parachute at apogee as determined by our electronic system, so the avionics bay. As you can see, that's where the rocket will separate, and then our parachute will come out. So these are all just the shock cords and lines that we have running through so the parachute can come out properly. Next up, what we have planned is a dual recovery system. So we'll have separation at 2 points. So the nose cone can actually pop off as well. And from there, we'll get a smaller parachute at about, for our final rocket, which we'll be taking to the competition held in Portugal. It'll be launched at 3 kilometers. That's when our first parachute pops off, and then we'll get a second parachute popping off at around 450 meters. So that's about our timeline as of the moment. So as again, this will be launched in January, and we'll be doing more testing leading up until March/April, and then we'll be doing any optimizations for our EUROC rocket, and then taking that to Portugal around October 2025. Thank you. I'll pass it back to Kyle now.
And just to wrap up, we're here today because, as Guru was saying, we plan to launch this rocket in early January, and much later in the year we will have larger test flights as well as our final test flight before we actually go to EUROC. We're here because we want to generate a bit of attention and a bit of hype around the launches. We think they're fantastic events to have people at, but we're also here to look for sponsors and any potential launch sites. We need somewhere with no people, no buildings, no animals, no nothing. So if anyone has a bog out back, let us know. But also, if you or your company or anyone you know would like a nice spot for a sticker or a logo on a rocket going Mach 3 up to 9 kilometers at some stage, let us know. We're very interested in networking and any resources, whether that's manufacturing, monetary, or otherwise. We are a registered nonprofit and charity as well, if that makes a difference. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
So hello, my name is John. I am one of the co-organisers for PyData London, and I also run an AI consultancy called Coefficient. So recently we came across this stat: 72% of the CVs out there are never seen by human eyes in hiring rounds. There's a lot of automation, and if you're thinking, where is that automation? My team and I have spent the last 6 months digging into this, and we found that across every single step of the entire hiring pipeline, there are a lot of tools using a lot of AI. And some of those tools are even sort of using AI to look at the video interviews and do psychometric profiling from that. So the question is, okay, is it fair? Is it biased? And how would we even know? So this is not a new thing. London has particular expertise in this area. In 1979, it was the world's first AI hiring scandal. So St. George's Hospital decided that they would train a natural language processing algorithm on their historical hiring data for their graduate medical program. It was kind of biased. Their own internal team looked into it and became a whistleblower. So that was good. This system was able to replicate the admission staff decisions with 95% accuracy. One good reason for using AI, for looking at this sort of stuff, is it maybe shines a light on your own very biased human decision data in the training systems. But what happened as a result? It was found to be systematically discriminating against applicants with non-European names and women. In fact, just the word woman might actually get you put to the bottom of the pile in their system. The UK's Commission for Racial Equality looked into this. They said, yes, this definitely happened. No fines were levied, but it did maybe make some improvements to standards for hiring in academia across the UK. What else has happened? More recently, Amazon tried some stuff for like a whole 7-year period. They literally wanted it to be an engine where you just throw resumes into it, it spits out the top 5, and they just say, yeah, we'll hire those. No human in the loop. Again, there's some red flags here, I would say, in terms of how you might be designing systems for making decisions about people's fundamental lives and careers. And again, just keywords like the word woman being one of those keywords that very much put someone down the list. So Bloomberg did a really cool thing earlier this year. They looked at a bunch, only OpenAI, GPT 3.5 and 4, and they demonstrated a bit of a testing methodology. How can you start to investigate? So if you're using an LLM to power a system in your company's product that might be making decisions about people's lives, definitely pay attention, because the EU's AI Act will require you to ensure that it's not discriminative, especially on things like protected characteristics. Otherwise, watch out for a 6% revenue maximum fine. So how do they do that? Their testing methodology is actually very much rooted in a long history of evaluating humans for discrimination in hiring. So they did the same sort of thing. They generated tons and tons of synthetic CVs, all the same data, just changing out the name, that being a very good clue for things like ethnicity and gender. And they threw that at GPT 4 and 3.5 over and over again, 1,000 times each for a bunch of different jobs. Looked at what happened, and it turned out maybe there were some biases between these different groups. For example, Asian women preferred far more for one particular job than at the bottom of this you have black men, but different based on different job types. For the HR specialist, it prefers Hispanic women. For financial analysts, it prefers Asian women. So you've got this way of maybe simulating hiring rounds en masse, and then being able to crunch the data and seeing, is there a disparity in terms of which particular ethnicity backgrounds are being selected for and against. So a really nice methodology that works for LLMs as well as other neural networks or trad ML systems. So we have had a lot of fun over the last 6 months being funded by the UK's Department for Science, Innovation and Technology. We won an Innovate UK grant to look into this, and it's currently all under embargo. But what have we done? I can't see the results yet. But we saw that and we thought, okay, that's great, but what about Claude? What about Llama 3.2? What about ChatGLM 4 and 2? What about Gemini? And actually, you've got some pretty similar results across the board. And actually, it gets really quite insidious, because sometimes you might look at the gender disparity, and it's kind of even Stevens, but then you look into gender by ethnicity, you add age, you add disability, you go intersectional in your analysis, and it looks really quite unpleasant in terms of how these systems are working. So it is possible to evaluate these out, to fine-tune. There are things you can do, but just being able to measure is step one. So we have just, and this is literally alpha, it's not formally released yet, published our Fairground tool, which is an open source tool to help look into this, especially intersectional analysis, which is an area currently unserved by other open source tools for evaluating AI systems for fairness. If you'd like to find out more about that, I will be running a workshop at PyDay2 Global in a few weeks' time, literally walking through step by step some of the theory. So if you are in a role or a company who's just interested in how do you evaluate AI systems, neural networks, LLMs, for whether they are discriminative or literally illegal, if you are using these for hiring, then you might want to double check that they're definitely okay and not discriminating on protected characteristics. If you want to follow our story, we've also made a bit of a newslettery blog. It's called Fairness Tales, fairnesstales.com. Scan the QR code. Thank you very much.
You want to be nice to your colleagues. You want to be, you don't want to be known as the person who pushes or commits bad code. You don't want to be flagged for, oh, you have this variable is never used again. You assigned it. Or so, oh, this code is not PEP8 compliant. Or stuff like, oh, you left a bunch of CRLFs in the file instead of just LFs, like any civilized person would use. Or worse even, you use tabs instead of spaces. See? This is bad. So, everyone here, raise your hand if you, every time you lint your code before you commit. Liars. You're a bunch of liars. So, assuming you don't do that, or at least before you push, you have tools like this that will do that for you. So, the idea here is that you install it, and it will manage a set of hooks. What set of hooks? What can I do with it? Nope, not this one, this one. Oops, no. So in this case, I am checking YAML syntax, fixing end of files. So if you have a bunch of lines in the end of file, it will fix it. If you leave trailing white space, this is disgusting. A trailing white space on the end of your lines, it will flag you. And it will run rough, which is a very nice linter formatter, and it will even fix this configuration will not fix easy mistakes. You can ask it to fix the simplest ones, or flag the ones that it can't fix. So, I used an example. I added a bunch of empty lines on the end of this README. I can do this as well. I'm not sure if Emacs is configured to clean them before it saves. But I managed to mangle this, and let's say let's say, no, 41 plus 1, so it's even worse in terms of PEP8. Because you don't want to go for a code review, and you see your colleague pushing you something that you said, dude, at least lint it. So let's see what happens if I try to commit this. And remember, this is a live demo. I didn't bring my work laptop, which has everything installed, so I have to install everything here, because this machine is a fresh install. So let's see if I can commit. Oh.
You have to forgive me, I didn't know I was going to do this morning. If you want a copy of my presentation, it's here. So. Anyhow, so this is a Python conference, I noticed. So yeah, it gets better. Also, like a lot of these conferences now, they tend to turn into kind of AI conferences and also kind of Rust conferences, which I like. I'm a seasoned Rust developer at this point, so I'm quite happy about that. And I'd just like to talk about a version of the future with respect to AI. And this is my version of the future. I've been thinking about this for a little while. I'd like to talk to anyone else who's interested in this. It's probably wrong like anyone else's version of the future, but I think it's kind of interesting nonetheless. And it concerns agents. You've probably all heard the word, especially over the past year with respect to AI. There's a lot of kind of conflicting definitions out there about what they are and what they do. And I just kind of like to give a simple example of what I think they are anyhow. So right now, when we think about AI, we're thinking about chat bots, so kind of glorified chat bots in a lot of cases. You're asking an LLM to do something, maybe compile some data, look some stuff up, maybe using a RAG, blah, blah, and you're expecting it to come back or not come back with information that's kind of right sometimes, kind of not right the other times, and nobody seems to really care. So, and I think the next level of AI beyond this is where we have a point where AI needs to actually start doing things. It's on our behalf. It's not just collecting information and giving it back to us in kind of an imperfect format. It's actually going out and doing stuff. And this is kind of achieved, there's betas right now on OpenAI, something they use called function calling or tool calling. You may have come across it. A lot of people kind of haven't looked into it yet. And that's whereby instead of telling an LLM to do something, you give it a set of tools and say, come up with a plan and actually execute this for me. So that might be something like, a good example I think is like a home automation AI, right? You give it an API to control your lights and another API to adjust the music, but you don't go to it and you say, change the lights, adjust the music. You just say something like, make it romantic in here. And okay, fine, clearly that didn't work, that's fine. But that's what the essence of an agent is, doing something and not necessarily kind of in a scripted way like we're used to as developers. You code an integration. It's all the same logic every time. You're giving an LLM tools in order to do something on your behalf. And so one thing I just want to mention about the agents is that they're absolutely shit at the moment, especially today. But they work sometimes, they kind of work in small cases. If you provide them with some good data, it might work a little bit. Once you provide, 10 APIs to it, they get confused, they hallucinate, blah, blah, blah. But this is going to get better over time. I'm a skeptic, by the way, about lots of things. I come from a cryptocurrency background. I developed I developed a privacy coin called Grin. I always say about cryptocurrency that the market is 99.959 of bullshit and then 1% okay good stuff. I hope my project was one of the good things. In AI, it's about 1090, I think, is about the spread of that. So there's a lot of hype out there. But I do believe things are going to get better over time. And I've seen some instances of things in the past year, I won't go into, I don't have enough time, where I thought, oh, this is actually really a thing, this is happening, like around Google Notebooks and some other stuff like that. So we're looking forward now to a world where agents are doing things on our behalf, and this scares the shit out of most people, as it should, because it's accessing your databases, it's creating accounts, it's emailing people, and you don't necessarily have a control over what's happening or when it's actually doing this. And then going on from there, you can imagine a world where agents are now talking to agents. And it's like you have all these systems talk to their APIs, but an agent in front of them, and they're kind of communicating with each other. And all of a sudden, your data layer, your machine layer, your interface layer is now like plain English, or, for the lack of that's the language that is unfortunately used by AI. So this kind of future, and then again from there, it's a future where non-developers are creating agents. So I just have my agents who know how to access APIs and systems, and I'm just telling them, do such and such, here's my kind of general plan, and the agents kind of go off and do this thing, and it kind of takes developers out of the loop a little bit, which obviously is developers, a lot of developers in this room, not something we like, and where does that kind of leave us? And I think this kind of leaves us in a case where you have, agents doing a lot of the work for us, and we're kind of maybe working in smaller teams, we're smarter, we have agents doing a lot of the grunt work for us. It might not erase jobs, it's, teams you kind of need to be smarter and better at your job. And again, I don't have a newsletter to subscribe to or anything. These are just things I've been talking about for the past while. I'd love to talk to anybody who's kind of interested in these things about more thoughts and hear your thoughts on this. You can come find me in an hour or two. I'll be drunk. It's a really good time to catch me on these things. And thanks very much. I've enjoyed.
Well, so Europe, it's a big place. Note this is the map of Europe and not just the EU. As somebody who lives in Scotland, it's kind of important to me. It's a big place. Every year there's DjangoCon Europe, which is the biggest Django conference outside of North America. And last year it was in Spain. The year before it was in Scotland. I may have been vaguely responsible for that. And yeah, it's been in many places. Who knows where it is next year? So, I didn't ask for the answer. I was going to ask you not to give the answer. I didn't plan very well. Yeah, it's in Dublin. So this is the very placeholder page. Whoa, there you go. Don't applaud me. I'm not responsible for this in any way at all. I just thought you should know. So yeah, this is the placeholder page that's on like 2025 djangocon.eu, but there's more information. So this was 5 days ago. This is on the Django website blog. So if you go to django.com and look up the blog, this is the official announcement email. We've now got dates. It's April the 23rd to the 27th. That is about 5 months away, which is really not very long. This is being organised by people from all around Europe. But especially like a team of people that are based in Portugal. So I'm sure they would really appreciate if they could get some help that was on the ground. So most importantly, like further down this blog post, there's a link to a form to volunteer to help out with this conference. So obviously, if you're into Django, like please sign up and attend this. But really, like it's also really good to get involved, and you can sign up for as much or as little time as you can spare. So your DjangoCon needs you. This is like the first time DALL-E has ever given me the actual image that I asked for. So, thank you very much.
I'm going to talk about what I did on my summer vacation for something a little different. So this summer, I went to see a wonderful ship in Sweden, the Vasa. And about 5 minutes into the tour, I realized I've been here before because it was a project manager's nightmare. So the perfect storm of a project manager's nightmare was ambitious requirements. The King of Sweden wanted a really big, impressive boat with 2 layers of guns on it, which unfortunately, the designer had never done a 2-deck boat before, and he was really concerned about it. So he negotiated a little bit, apparently, that the top deck was not going to have the big guns on it. The bottom deck would have the big guns, and the upper deck would have smaller guns. Unfortunately, he died. And he didn't leave any notes. And the person who took over was his wife, who was really good at running the business. She was in charge of all the money, but she wasn't a ship designer. So they brought somebody in, and he died. So then they went through, and the ship's been mostly put together. It's floating. And an admiral comes by and says, we're going to do dynamic testing on it. So they have a bunch of people on the top deck running back and forth. They do this 3 times. He stops the test and says, I'm scared. I think it's going to collapse, or it's going to capsize. So they didn't test it very much. There was also money trouble through this whole thing because the King of Sweden was off fighting wars and didn't send enough money back. They were scraping the bottom of the barrel. People hadn't been paid. So, you know, time's running on, everything's just dragging on. There's schedule pressure because the king wants his big boat. So what happens? Well, they launch it on a beautiful August day. It makes it about 1,300 meters, a little puff of wind goes, it starts going back and forth and sinks in the harbor with everybody watching. Where 300 years later, it was pulled from the bottom, and now it is an absolutely gorgeous boat in a museum. It's like 90% complete, 95% complete. I highly recommend going there and just listen to the tour because, oh my God, I've been on projects like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Vladimir Stukin, I study at the University College Dublin, computer science third year.
So I want to talk about Telegram and the ability to create bots within Telegram. So Telegram basically it's like the messaging app, but the main advantage is bots. So everyone can send messages to this bot, and bot can like talk with users. And everyone can create bots in Telegram, and so basically, we have users. They go to the special bot channel, and this bot send message to a special server, and then returns users the messages. And there can be all kinds of bots in Telegram, like anonymous chat bot, which connects to random people all over the world, and it allows to text these people. Also, there is like a dating bot in Telegram, so it's absolutely free. It's like Tinder, and it's absolutely transparent. but it's not the best dating bot. Don't ever try it. Also, there are like ChatGPT wrappers, and it's very convenient because you send message to this wrapper, and this wrapper can make a special prompt to this message, and then later to send it to ChatGPT. So basically, it's like changes the front end of ChatGPT. But if the admin of this bot, but also admin can change the prompt of this bot, so messages of ChatGPT can be longer, shorter, or with different. Or in different language. So the best way to use it is to connect Firestore. So I try to do this. So I see all messages that users send to ChatGPT wrapper. So for example, how ChatGPT works. And then I got response from ChatGPT. It was automatically recorded into the Firestore database, and then it was returned to the user. So it allows me to easily track all messages, track how many people actually use this bot, how long do they wait for the message. And again, it's possible to make like any kind of project and use Telegram API to allow users to receive messages from the bot. So that's the main idea. Also, I have like a hobby. I do wood burning on wooden surfaces, like on Harleys, skateboards, cloaks. I do coasters. I fill with epoxy. There are different markets at the seed center during summer and all over the year. So I sell these magic coasters. So that's everything. You can contact me via LinkedIn, Instagram, Telegram. Thank you very much. And also, I'm looking for software engineering internships, startups during holidays, during the summer 2025. So I'm looking for any work opportunities. Thank you, everyone.